Hey everyone, time to talk a little bit about the Warcraft movie. I've left this topic kind of, well, behind for a few months, and one or two things have happened, really mostly within the last while actually, that are worth talking about. So, first of all, the film has actually wrapped. They're done shooting the damn thing. This happened, I think it was like 1 or 2 weeks ago. Duncan Jones actually announced it on his Twitter. And yeah, that's that. Warcraft is done with shooting. When's it coming out? Well, it's coming out in 2016. You're probably wondering why. And apparently it's because this is going to be one of the most, just kind of like, not, well, I suppose post-produced sort of films. They've got Industrial Light and Magic. They're the studio who were formed to make the original Star Wars. They're basically one of the top tier special effects houses on the planet. So they've got them doing the stuff for Warcraft. And apparently they're basically going to be using most of the next 2 years to just make the thing look fantastic. I think this really is important, actually. I remember when I was watching The Hobbit, and one of the big problems that I had with The Hobbit is that the special effects were extremely spotty. Like, really spotty, especially in the Desolation of Smaug. Some of the just effects in places weren't that great. I thought the river was terrible, actually, when they were in that barrel scene, and because there was points where the river literally, was not making actual sense, where it was completely just flowing into the side of the riverbank into oblivion. It just looked silly. There was this time when they chopped a tree trunk in half, and the tree trunk inside was actually extremely low resolution, and it looked terrible. So that should hopefully mean that Warcraft is going to get rid of problems like that, which is something that I think is extremely important, actually. So another thing that we found out, and this was very recently, actually on the 30th of May, was that Ben Foster is actually going to be playing Medivh in the movie. So what he said about Medivh is, just let me find the quote here. Yeah, he said, "The character I play in Warcraft is named Medivh. He's a mage, which is essentially a sorcerer. He came up in a time protecting an area, and the way he protected this area was through magic. As peace returned to the land, he took a break. He hung up his staff, so to speak, or let his guns get dusty. We meet him and his friends as, him as his friends are returning, asking for his help in battle." So, he plays Medivh. He sort of plays a kind of just getting back into the fore Medivh. I'm assuming that this is, well, this has got to be before the Dark Portal opened, so I don't know if Medivh has, in secret, been contacting with Orcs. Obviously, he's been very kind of vague there, and I would say that that's not because he doesn't understand the character, it's because he can't give away the plot of the movie that he's in. And I think if you're acting in this movie, and you're being directed by Duncan Jones, who is someone who has been playing Warcraft games since he was, young, basically since the RTSs, I don't think you could really manage to act in this movie without knowing exactly what your character is. Plus, Ben Foster's actually, when he's in a good role, can be quite a good actor. So, yeah, good stuff. We get to see Medivh. I think it's going to be really, really cool seeing Medivh just kind of working and opening the Dark Portal and doing all that stuff, and sort of just, in behind and sort of subterfuge, and then, of course, when Medivh is going to get killed by Lothar and friends. I guess that might be near the end of the movie. I don't know when they'll cut it off, or at least that's basically what Warcraft lore says. I don't know how many liberties they're going to take with the movie. So anyway, Ben Foster as Medivh is something that we know. And then after that in the interview, he talked a little bit about how Duncan Jones is actually portraying both sides. He said what's exciting about Duncan Jones's take on this video game is that it shows both sides of the war. It shows both sides of a conflict, which is exciting to me. It's not just a video game turned into a movie. It's asking, hopefully, an important question of where do we limit compassion for what we consider to be the bad guys. Now that's really cool, actually, and I wonder if we're going to see any Draenei in this film, because there's 1 or 2 little parts where the orcs are just destroying the Draenei, and if Durotan's going to be a main character, then he was involved actively in some of those massacres, but we know kind of felt terrible about the whole thing, so they could have some really, really excellent character moments there, which I think would be very enjoyable to see. So that's definitely nice. And overall, it's good that we've got actors coming out and saying, yeah, Duncan Jones is flat out just doing both sides properly. Because you see Sam Raimi, who was the original guy who's going to be directing this movie, who I'm so glad he's not got his bloody paws in this thing. By the way, I did not like those first 2 Spider-Man movies at all. I know that's probably a controversial opinion, but whatever. No, I'm glad Sam Raimi doesn't have it, and he was going to make it into the orcs are the bad guys, the humans are the good guys, big Hollywood blockbuster style thing. Whereas Duncan Jones, he's the guy who made Source Code and Moon, he's very good at subtlety, he's an extremely clever man who is very good at movies, and also I think he co-wrote this as well. And he's a very, very accomplished writer. Look, just go watch Moon. That's my, like, the bottom line of this video. Go watch Moon. Anyway, so that was definitely a good thing to hear from Ben Foster. Then finally he said, I'll just again quote here, "The way they're pushing motion capture, I just saw some of the test footage. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's performance capture. It pushes it to the next level. It's going to be one hell of a 3D event." Then he clarified that Medivh is not like a sort of captured character. Okay, so he said it's going to be one hell of a 3D event. Look, I am not someone who particularly enjoys many 3D movies. There are some movies which worked fantastically with it. I think the best example would have been Gravity. By the way, as much as Gravity is sort of annoys me from a kind of sciencey level, in that most of that movie wouldn't be possible. I mean, hell, in a space suit with the way that's pressurized, there's no way, even if you're Sandra Bullock, you couldn't have done any of that. Anyway, yeah, so maybe this is going to have a full-on 3D release and all that guff. So look, I'm not particularly cool on the whole idea of it being 3D, though I think that since Duncan Jones is the director, I've got faith in him not to do really dumb shit like, you know those scenes that they sometimes have in 3D movies that are specifically made for the 3D version, you know, just to show it off? I don't think he'll do that. It just does not seem like the sort of thing he'd do, and I don't know if this is just me implanting something, but I'm pretty sure I've heard him or someone to do with it talk about 3D in a sort of, not a negative light, but in the light of it kind of needs to be ingrained into the movie as additional depth of field rather than big flashy effects. So hopefully that's how it works out. But what we have found out, though, is that it's some sort of like crazy next-gen performance capture from ILM, Industrial Light and Magic again being that fantastic special effects house. So that's got me really interested, actually, because they're going to be doing these orcs, and obviously orcs are something that a lot of people are just going to think are evil. And when a general audience kind of sees that being subverted, I think it could be really cool. And if they can use quality performance capture to just capture emotions and things like that from the actors who are playing the orcs, it could work out very well. I actually think that it was really fantastically done in the original, like in the first Hobbit movie with Smeagol. Like, damn, some of that stuff, that was my favorite scene of that movie. Yeah, so that was good stuff. And then I think the last thing to say is that I remember there was a interview with one of the production people at Legendary. It was like an interview covering Legendary as a whole, like as a company. But they mentioned with Warcraft just that the 2 years really is going to be coming down to these, you know, effects that I've been talking about. So really making sure that the models that motion capture is mapped onto are perfect and all that stuff. And honestly, I'm getting more and more excited for this as we go on. The movie's not being rushed out. Okay, look, it was maybe announced in 2006, so I don't think you could possibly say the 10 years is rushing it out, but as for this new incarnation of the movie, its filming time was like 4 or 5 months. That's pretty standard, and its production time is longer than most films, but since it's going to be a movie that's going to have quite a lot of CGI, I think, you know, that's good. Things are sounding good. Oh, then also, just the final thing to mention is that, I saw not a screenshot, it was a picture of one of their days on set, and they seemed to be in a throne room that was a fully created set. Now, I guess you could be worried about the level of CGI in a movie because you don't want Star Wars, Star Wars syndrome, where no one can act well because it's CGI bullshit everywhere. No, they were in like full-on live sets with people running around with armor and things like that, so it seemed to work pretty well. I'm not going to put that screenshot in the video because I don't know if I'm allowed to use it, and look, with movies I just get scared about content ID strikes and things like that, so this is just going to be more of a kind of talky video. Anyway, that's kind of the latest jazz with the Warcraft movie. It's looking quite good. Well, I haven't seen it, but it's definitely shaping up to be good. Most of the actors, all of the actors and people that are acting in it have said good things, or at least things that I've perceived to be sort of pro-Warcraft, and overall, just, hey, it's looking solid. Hopefully the movie will turn out well, but we are going to have to wait until March the 11th, 2016 to find out, so that should be quite a while. I wonder, yeah, actually, Waters of Draenor will probably be finished by then. We might even be, like, on our way into the next expansion, which would be kind of cool. That's if Warlords of Draenor is even out by then. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching and all that stuff, and be sure to stay tuned to the channel, and I will see you next time.